Grenada. The island is only twice the size of the District of Columbia, with a total population of about 110,000 people. Grenada and a half dozen other Caribbean islands here were, until recently, British colonies.
In 1979, Maurice Bishop had overthrown the Marxist government of Grenada with a military coup and declared himself Prime Minister of Grenada.
Then Grenada had aligned itself with the Soviet Union and Cuba and sought military assistance.
Prime Minister Maurice Bishop had then created an army greater than any of the Caribbean countries and colonies around Grenada.
He sought the help of Cuba in building an airport, which he claimed was for tourist trade, but which looked suspiciously suitable for military aircraft, including Soviet-built long-range bombers.
Maurice Bishop then went to Washington, D.C. to try to ease the tension between Grenada and the U.S.
I think even before I landed in the United States, that was established beyond any shadow of doubt, frankly. As you remember, the main peg around which this alleged threat rested was the peg of the international airport. Now, following President Reagan's second speech attacking Grenada, the Star Wars speech on the 23rd of March, an ABC television crew came down to Grenada. And they discovered that they didn't have to go up into a spy plane to take photographs, that they can just go to the airport site and take photographs. They discovered that right at the tip of the runway was a medical school with 700 young American students earning their right to become doctors. That these young American students were running up and down the airport runway every day. It was their main jogging path. So as far as I am concerned, even before we got here, that particular piece of mythology had been blasted. But I would certainly hope that if there was any residue of doubt left, that the last 10 days would certainly have cleared it up once and for all.
Prime Minister Bishop gave indications that he might like better relations with the United States. Whether he was serious or not, we'll never know. On October 12th, a small group in his militia seized him and put him under arrest. They were, if anything, more radical and more devoted to Castro's Cuba than he had been. Several days later, a crowd of citizens appeared before Bishop's home, freed him, and escorted him toward the headquarters of the military council. They were fired upon. A number, including some children, were killed and Bishop was seized. He and several members of his cabinet were subsequently executed, and a 24-hour shoot-to-kill curfew was put in effect. Grenada was without a government.
While Grenada was under control by a self-proclaimed band of military men, there was about 1,000 United States citizens on Grenada, 800 of them being students of St. George's University Medical School. Concerned for those U.S. citizens on Grenada, President Reagan had joined forces with several Caribbean states, as well as Jamaica and Barbados, to restore democracy to Grenada with a military operation. A military operation that would be known as Urgent Fury.
I believe our government has a responsibility to go to the aid of its citizens if their right to life and liberty is threatened. We knew we had little time and that complete secrecy was vital to ensure both the safety of the young men who would undertake this mission and the Americans they were about to rescue. The Joint Chiefs worked around the clock to come up with a plan. They had little intelligence information about conditions on the island. We had to assume that several hundred Cubans working on the airport could be military reserves. Well, as it turned out, the number was much larger, and they were a military force.
On October 25th, 1983, the United States Marines and 75th Rangers invaded the island of Grenada. The initial assault consisted of 1,200 troops. The invasion force grew to more than 7,000 soldiers. The defenders either surrendered or fled into the mountains. The scattered fighting continued as U.S. troops hunted down stragglers, but for the most part, the island quickly fell under American control. By mid-December, U.S. combat forces went home and a pro-American government took power. During the course of Operation Urgent Fury, U.S. forces sustained 19 killed and 116 wounded. Cuban forces sustained 25 killed, 59 wounded, and 638 combatants captured. Grenadian forces suffered 45 killed and 358 wounded, and at least 24 civilians were killed, several of whom were killed in the accidental bombing of a Grenadian mental hospital. After the United States won its first militarized victory since well before the Vietnam War, Grenada's governor, General Paul Schoon, formed a government in December 1983 by appointing Nicholas Brathwaite as acting head of government. Democratic elections were held a year after the Grenada War in December 1984 and was won by the Grenada National Party. The government was formed and led by Prime Minister Herbert Blaise. The US did receive quite a bit of criticism though, because the US was far more superior compared to the underdeveloped island of Grenada.
We liberated Grenada from communist thugs who had taken over that. I am proud also to say that during these last 4 years, not 1 square inch of territory in the world has been lost to communist aggression.
Grenada's current Prime Minister is Tillman Thomas, and there is no conflict between the US and Grenada. There hasn't been a conflict since Operation Urgent Fury. US medical students still go to St. George's University School of Medicine, and Grenada continues to be a popular destination for Americans.